Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of KSP Resurgence. Now, first I want to apologize if I sound a little weird, because I'm starting to get a little bit sick, so, I mean, it is cold and flu season, it's getting really cold, but, what I'm doing in this episode is something quite important. It's the final mission of this part of the series. The final mission restrained to the solar system. Because after this, I'm going to start going interstellar. Well, of course, I'm probably going to set up an interplanetary colony first, which is another big part of this episode. I'll be landing on all of the moons of Magnifica, which is this huge purple gas giant that I haven't visited yet. In fact, it's the only spot I haven't visited. So that's going to be really nice. And also, of course, I'm going to be looking to colonize one of its moons. I mean, I could colonize the Collectus moon Majesty also. That last episode I surveyed and scanned. It's actually a pretty nice place. But who knows, maybe there's a nicer place in orbit around Magnifica. Now, the problem with Magnifica is that a whole lot of the moons are in rather inclined orbits, but there are a couple of moons that actually are in a more of a equatorial orbit in relativity to our parent star Harmonia, and both of them are actually seem like really good candidates to colonize. I'll be landing on one of them today, actually. The moon is called Creek. It's like a really cool moon with like a frozen ocean. That ocean might actually be key to harboring life in the future in case Harmonia decides to go red giant mode and kill everyone and make Sanctar, this home planet, uninhabitable. I mean, if the frozen ocean melts, it'll turn to water and maybe make an atmosphere. It'll probably be thin, but it might be breathable. That's how it tends to work, I think. Anyway, this will be our set of 2 landers. One is an atmospheric lander. Well, it'll only be one use considering there's only one atmospheric planet, moon of Harmonia. Then the other lander is a vacuum exclusive lander. You're probably wondering how I'm going to do most 4 moons with one lander. That's because this lander is a very special one. It runs on lithium engines. It runs on magnetoplasma dynamic engines, which are super efficient. I mean, I power them by these cool fuel cells from Stirling Systems, so I don't have to pack a heavy nuclear reactor. Because having a nuclear reactor will kill my TWR and also may not generate enough electricity. Anyway, this rendezvous was nothing too special. It's just a routine thing. I've done many rendezvous in this series. Can't believe I'm already on episode 23. Anyway, cool sunset here. I really don't have anything else to say about this this rendezvous. It's just uneventful. I've done so many rendezvous in the past, I just can't think of anything to say about it. Other than the fact that we're docking in the nighttime, which is not the best recipe for fun times. So I will time warp a bit to go into daylight eventually. If I recall correctly, I am doing this voiceover post-recording, so I could remember my things wrong. Of course, I'll be doing the Matlow lazy method of docking, which involves having both of the both of the vessels point towards each other, and then you just go straight. But there's this really weird thing that keeps happening, like, my prograde keeps shifting away from the target. It's like either my orbit's a little different, or like some phantom forces pulling me away. You know, I did bump the Tenacity interplanetary vehicle twice, actually, like really badly. But thankfully there's no structural damage, and I could just dock. And with that, we have docked 2 landers to a Tenacity. Now, I could leave these attached, have it look a little weird, but I want to give this other lander its own proper docking port and not have it be connected to the other lander by some unseen force. So, I'm going to do this docking right here, right now. And I don't really have any RCS on this just because all the RCS for like the upper stages for like the big RCS uses like hypergolic fuel, while this thing runs on methane. Another thing I should mention is that I decided to take a whirl with using procedural fuel tanks for this upper stage. Not to mention the fuel tank of that lander, the one with gold foil, is also procedural. just because I want to have a cool tank with a lithium in it. Now there is ore in well, there's not ore. It can hold ore, but I dumped it all because why would I want ore? For some reason, it didn't show that in the VAB, but it kept adding it. It kept adding the tweakable for literally no reason. Anyway, if you're an avid watcher of this series, this space plane here might seem a little familiar. This is a modified version of ASET, or the Alia Science Expedition Vehicle, which is a space plane I sent over to Alia, which is it's a kind of like a half-moon, half-binary twin of Sanctar. I sent it to Alia to do some science experiments, but I really liked how that turned out. So I just made an edit slightly. So I replaced the laboratory with a crew cockpit, I gave it RCS, and of course I had to add a docking port. Now this will act as our main crew transport vehicle. It can hold a lot of crew members, considering the cockpit and crew cabin combined have a capacity of around I think 14 or like 16. I think it's 14. I don't know, I think it's 14 combined. I mean, it's better than Fate, considering it's more streamlined, and I don't think it's as draggy. Just because Fate, I had to put some Mark II crew cabins on the top and kind of clip them in. That kind of like shifted the center of mass and like made it kind of jank, so it did not want to fly straight. This one, however, it flies really, really well. It's a lot more stable. Though I forgot to add air brakes. But I didn't forget to add antenna, because the last ASET didn't have any antennas, so it couldn't broadcast any science, so I had to send a rescue mission there. And of course, similar to some of my other craft, this runs on magnetic plasma dynamic engines powered by some fuel cells. It allows me to get lots of Delta V without having to pack a nuclear reactor. That was a pretty good ascent, I must say. With some beautiful clouds and some beautiful waterfall effects. Oh, by the way, for the RCS, I'm using this mod called Internal RCS, which allows you to kind of like clip these RCS nozzles wherever you want on your craft. For some reason, the depth mask isn't working for some reason, so it's it looks like it's clearly flipped into the part instead of looking like a actual hole, like an actual nozzle, which actually is an RCS port. It just looks a little jank, but functionally it still works just fine. Now, I think I packed enough hydrogen on this for my RCS fuel, just because I didn't feel like I needed too much. Thankfully, I did have to do another attempt. I did have a quick save, just so I could try the docking again, because I did run out of monopropellant, or hydrogen actually. Because I have a mod called Chemical Technologies, which gets rid of monopropellant, liquid fuel, and oxidizer. Well, configures a bunch of engines to not use them and use better fuels like oxygen, hydrogen, methane, hydrogen, nitrogen tetroxide, a bunch of other cool exotic chemicals. But some of the mods I have still insist that they use oxidizer, so thankfully some of the fuel tanks that are not configured by Chemical Technologies can still hold oxidizer. So that kind of solves this soft incompatibility. Anyway, here's Tenacity. I actually was a little worried because I felt like there wasn't enough space for this space plane for the docking port, considering the front docking port was taken. Thankfully, all those fears turned out to be unneeded, just because I actually did end up having enough space. Now, for some reason, I can't time warp, because persistent thrust keeps glitching out, and for some reason, whenever there's multiple vehicles in the physics range, it does not let me time warp. Like, if there's one other vehicle, I mean, sometimes it will, but like, if there's multiple, like with these stupid debris over there, it just will not let me. It's actually angered me so much, I went to the tracking station off camera to delete all of the debris. I mean, deleting a debris regularly saves you a lot of headaches, just because it makes your saves load faster, and also prevents bugs from this happening as often. I really like this space plane, especially with a hybrid plasma jet engine setup. Gives you a lot of range. I mean, lithium will get you more Delta V just because it's more fuel dense, but like the jet engines in their closed cycle mode, which I like to use in case I need extra thrust, use hydrogen. So that's why I like to use hydrogen in this case. Besides, it's also lighter. Yeah, I think it might be slightly easier to find, but I could be wrong. Anyway, here's the docking. We're doing our final approach now. I was a little worried the tail fin was going to bump one of the fuel tanks, but thankfully that never happened. I gotta get the gravity ring rolling, and of course I gotta get all the crew members inside the spaceplane. Except for a couple, which I'll leave on the Phoenix SST, as I dubbed it, to return home and land, because this thing is not really made to last in orbit, just because those fuel cells are probably running out of electric charge, or oxidizer and beryllium and stop working. Gotta make sure I have all the crew members on board, except for these two, which will fly home. Spoiler alert, I did not crash this thing like I crashed ASET. Thankfully, ASET nobody died, so I didn't have to load a quick save. But it was a pretty weird crash. Thankfully, I didn't crash this attempt. Now, I'm not the best at targeting landings just because this trajectories mod is never accurate. It says, oh, you'll land right here, but in actuality I land like 5,000 miles east or something. Thankfully, this thing can fly indefinitely in the atmosphere, so I didn't have to worry about that. Now, quick view of the IVA there, you can actually get to see how luxurious the crew cabin is in the Opt-J fuselage. If in case you're wondering, this spaceplane is primarily made from parts from OPT Spaceplane. It's a really great mod I would highly recommend. Just some parts are a little dated, that's all. There's just no waterfall plumes and such. It's just a minor inconvenience. Now, I do have to end up flying quite a long way just to get this back to the space center. But I'm actually pretty good at atmospheric flight, especially with a well-designed spaceplane like this. Once again, Firefly is offering some pretty stunning effects. And we're flying over some mountains right now, so better not go too low or else I'll crash. I did worry that I crashed just because these clouds were in the way and I couldn't see. All I could rely on was like the radar telling me, "Don't worry, bro. You're not close to the ground. You're not gonna crash." So I didn't want to bother descending just in case I crashed. And I couldn't see the KSP either, which is a minor inconvenience. But thankfully, this one cloud was just a minor obstacle. The other thing about flying this spaceplane is that you gotta worry about not going too fast. I mean, too slow. If you go too slow, you'll stall out. And also, you gotta go at the right speed so that you're not too fast as where you fly over and lose control, and not too slow where you stall and crash. Anyway, here's the space center. I'm approaching it now. Gotta make a quick save or else I'll be very angry at myself for failing. But thankfully, I was able to do this in one attempt. I was really worried I'd fail, but thankfully I came up to a pretty nice landing here. I think I have air brakes, but thankfully the landing gear does. Anyway, at this point, I'm just going to send this crew on its merry way to Magnifica. Keep getting Magnifica and Harmonia mixed up. Harmonia is the star that we're orbiting, and Magnifica is the magenta gas giant I want to go to. Now, this vehicle is actually starting to run out of fuel, but this engine's so efficient, it really doesn't matter. Now, one unfortunate thing is that Olia over here really insisted I end up taking a detour just to fly by it. It didn't really cost me too much, just a cool view and a minor inconvenience. Just gonna want to make sure I'm not using up too much fuel. I mean, the atmospheric lander did end up losing some hydrogen because the fusion engine that's powering this mothership, Tenacity, really insists it wants that fuel. But thankfully, I don't really care too much because I can just steal fuel from the big tanks powering this spacecraft, so it really doesn't matter. Anyway, I do want to do this maneuver kind of quickly and just get to Magnifica really quickly, just so I can actually arrive there before Fortitude, my other interplanetary vehicle, returns home from its Aglarka mission. Aglarka is a Hycean planet that's farther out than Magnifica. I visited that a couple episodes ago. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend watching it since I got some really good views and it just looks like a really nice planet. Not to mention the moons are also pretty nice. Anyway, this is a rather expensive burn, but I have all the Delta V I could want for such a mission like this. You know, of course, I did end up messing it up a little bit, so I did have to do a mid-course correction. Plotting that right now, in fact. I mean, I never know why this happens, but like when you do the initial maneuver, you can never get the trajectory you want. But with a mid-course correction burn, you can always get a really, really, really precise trajectory. I mean, the really annoying thing about having a huge mothership like this is that if you goof up a burn, you have to wait like 5 hours for the whole thing to turn around and do a mid-course correction. And this does not have any RCS. I mean, I could use like some plasma RCS that uses hydrogen, but like the ones that are actually big enough for me to use are still locked in the tech tree. So unfortunately, that's going to have to wait for our next design. There's probably going to be our interstellar vehicle, which I'm hoping to design on a live stream. But of course, I still need some more technology to be able to design my really, really cool... I'm thinking using antimatter just because fusion fuel's pretty hard to come by, especially in such a large scale required for a interstellar mission. Fission just does not give me the delta V and efficiency I need. So I guess it'll be antimatter it is. Now eventually I will unlock warp drives, but that's a long ways away. Anyway, of course I enter the sphere of influence of a new body. Of course I have to do all the science I can. For some reason, I recall pointing this thing retrograde, but just started pointing the completely opposite direction. This is my inconvenience, and here we are, Magnifica, in all of its purplish, pinkish beauty. As you can see, the rings are rather inclined, similar to how all the moons are very, very inclined. There are a couple moons that aren't. Maybe they were captured. Anyway, I do have to split my burns in two, just because it's more efficient, and this TWR in this ship is actually incredibly bad. There he is, Magnifica. Nice screenshot I took. Now, finally, if you've been watching this far, please like and subscribe. It really means a lot. I'm really close to 100 subscribers. But this is going to be our first landing on this planet. Well, not on the planet, on one of its moons, of course. It's going to be Creek, this icy, frozen ocean of a moon. I really like the way it looks. Especially the contrast between the rocky shores and the frozen ocean. You know, this planet moon is actually a really nice place to colonize, just because it also has all the resources I want, the gravity isn't too low, and it's not in an inclined orbit as opposed to some of the other moons. Now, orbiting a gas giant with lots of moons is pretty special just because everywhere you look there's a moon. Pretty good views of it too. Now, I did have to speed a lot of this episode up just because I really wanted to show all this content in a nice short amount of 25-ish minutes, because that's my target length for these episodes. Not too long, not too short. I didn't have to change my orbit a little bit at all just because I was already in the correct orbit for the survey scanner. And it's got helium-3, it's got hydrates, it's got uraninite, it's got ore, metallic ore. It's got water, but like not in the right spots. But hydrates gives me water, and that's in the right spots. So yeah, I suppose I might as well colonize this place. But then again, there's so many good options, I'll have to pick one. I'll probably leave that up to you guys. I'll have a poll eventually after I do this mission. After I finish this first part. I'm not actually sure if I want to do like another season and make a new logo or anything, just because my current logo for the series, KSP Resurgence, has some interstellar locations that I want to visit later in the series. And I feel like leaving the icon like that would be kind of like false advertising. So I guess I'll keep KSP Resurgence to like one part, you know, like split different seasons. I will like change a few things, of course. Just like the outro, just to make it a little bit more up to date, maybe refine a few things, boost the standard of quality of these videos. Anyway, I did have to do a really weird burn here just to get to a circular orbit again. A nice equatorial orbit also. At this point, I also decide where I'm actually going to end up landing to survey a spot for the colony, if I do end up building one here. Now, I really like Creek. You can, like, see through the ice and see the bottom of the oceans. Who knows, maybe there's, like, some frozen, like, space kraken living there or something. Maybe there's some other weird creatures living there. You know, what's really annoying about looking at all these resources is that they're never all in the same spot. Like, either it's like you get like 80% metallic ore and like no uraninite or other resources, or you get like 30% of both. I mean, it's really not that bad. I can just build more mining facilities and I can just mine as much as I want and get stuff really, really fast. But I want to make sure I'm getting the best stuff. Now, I did put RCS ports in this lander, but being my infinite wisdom, I actually forgot to give the RCS fuel. It's really, really foolish of me. Now, once again, this lander is powered by lithium, so I have all the fuel in the world. I can waste as much as I want. Well, almost as much. In fact, I think I might have been able to land this on Asperio, which is like the one atmospheric moon of this planet. It's like a Titan. It's similar to Titan. It's like a Titan analog, kind of. Even looks like it, down to the color. I mean, since it's so small, it's actually the TWR for this lander is actually going to be rather satisfactory. But there are no parachutes, and I guess I just want to have this be reserved as a vacuum lander. Besides, I did feel like using aerospecs for my atmospheric lander, so that's why I decided to put 2 landers on this mission. I could have done like one huge fat nuclear aerospike powered lander with like powered by methane, so it's super fuel dense and super efficient. But I really like using ion engines in these fuel cells, just because it gives me a lot of fuel in a tight package. Anyway, of course, I have to do the obligatory EVA just to get all the science and all the cool screenshots. Of course, the first part is a science. Of course, gotta click 5,000 times to get it all. And then I gotta get all the Kerbals out. Now, I did forget I had a EVA science experiment here, but unfortunately, by equipping it and putting it in this Kerbal's inventory, I summoned not 1, but 2 spatial anomalies that terrorize my Kerbals and making the camera really trippy. Now, thankfully, I was able to get rid of this by just taking it out and putting it back in the Kerbal's inventory. So, if you ever experience this issue, just do what I did and it should go away. Another option is loading a quick saving and quick loading, because that tends to get rid of a lot of bugs in Kerbal Space Program by just giving the whole scene a reset. Anyway, here's our flag, and we got a nice view of the rings also. Of course, gotta type a lot on the plaque. If you look at the background, you can actually see some cool ice crystals coming out of the ground. Now, I dig the landing, I dig the flag, the photo op, everything else I'm supposed to do on the landing, so it's time to get all the Kerbals back inside. Now, the nature of this lander can was not really a lander. Well, it kind of is a lander can. The VAB organizer sets the station core, but it's kind of like a lander. I think it's intended to be used as a lander, but you can use it as anything. But due to the nature of this part, getting on the ladder and climbing inside is actually really hard. I really struggled with this third Kerbal here. In fact, I can actually tell you that 2 of these Kerbals in this mission, I can't exactly recall who they were, are actually volunteers who actually went to this forum I posted and actually volunteered to become a Kerbalnaut in this series. Links in the description if you want to join this series as a Kerbal. You can fill out the form and I'll add you to the roster and send you on your very merry way into the sun. Anyway, that's beside the point right now, because we're coming in for a second landing. Because Creek is known for its icy oceans, so I might as well land on one and actually give you all the gift of actually showing you these really cool ice fields. Now, this antenna is actually kind of useless since it actually cannot reach the Kerbal Space Center. It's a big problem I'm gonna have to deal with sooner than later. I really do not like how the KSP antennas work because there's like direct and relay. I mean, like, common sense says, oh, it can reach the mothership. They can just say, hey, this guy said this, and then transmit that back to the Kerbal Space Center. But no, for some reason, Kerbals are too stupid to make their own communications actually useful. Now, I had this weird issue with the lander suddenly heating up. It turns out those fuel cells are actually pretty hot. They actually generate a significant amount of heat. Unfortunately, this lander can is actually extremely susceptible to overheating. In fact, it probably wasn't the best idea to use this specific part on my mission to Daysar. I had to use infinite heat, the infinite heat cheat just to land there safely. Well, meaning Daysar orbit was completely fine, but like approaching Daysar's sphere of influence, it kept exploding. So I did end up turning these fuel cells off just for a short amount of time. They actually did solve the overheating issue. Anyway, I do have to do my orbit burn just to get into an orbit so I don't come crashing down. Another thing about this lander is that it really wants to spin around, but for some reason the center of mass is off. Now, once again, we are in orbit, and that will be the end of this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you all later. Bye!